South Africa, or known as just CANSA, says cervical cancer is the second most common cancer among South African women. According to CANSA, one of the leading causes of this kind of cancer is the human papilloma virus, that's HPV, which accounts for 80% of cases in South Africa. What they also noted is that 1 in 39 South African women will be diagnosed with cervical cancer, and over half of them will be between the age of 35 and 55. These are frightening stats. Joining me in studio to talk more about this is Graham Anderson. He's the CEO and Principal Officer of Profmed. And let's take the discussion forward. Good to see you, Graham. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning, Leanne. Nice to see you again.
So, according to CANSA, 80% of cervical cancer cases in South Africa is caused by HPV. I mean, this is very disturbing. Why is that rate so high?
Well, the human papilloma virus is a sexually transmitted disease. Between 60 and 80% of the sexually active females are infected with the human papilloma virus. Yeah. And the best way to deal with this issue is to be vaccinated against it. I always say that prevention is better than cure. So although it's a fairly expensive vaccine, it's much, much cheaper than trying to treat the long-term effects of cervical cancer and other related diseases that are caused as a result of the human papilloma virus.
Yeah, I mean, if I go back to when this was actually launched, and it was quite recently, actually.
Correct, yes.
How many South African women have actually taken to it? How many have had this injection?
Well, I think that's one of the problems. You know, people aren't aware of the human papilloma virus, and and even if they are, they're not aware that there's vaccines for it. Now, the vaccines should be, individuals should be vaccinated between the ages of 9 and 27 years of age.
Right.
It's a process. There are three different vaccines over a period, and once you've had the vaccine, you don't need to worry about the human papilloma virus. So it's vitally important. So having it on television like this, I think it's important to let the females out there know that mothers should have their children from the age of 9.
From 9 up until 27.
Until the age of 27.
What about old folks like me?
Well, you know, by that time it's a little late. So,
really?
Yes.
So it's something that it is vital. So you're saying this can actually prevent it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. 80% of all, as you said in your intro, that 80% of all cervical cancer cases are caused as a result of a human papilloma virus. So if you're vaccinated against it, clearly you have a significantly less chance of contracting the disease.
Yeah. Are there any other preventions and precautions we can take? I mean, obviously you know that there's the vaccine that's available, but like you say, it's only for a certain age group. Thereafter, how do we look after ourselves?
Well, the problem with this disease is that it's asymptomatic, particularly in its early stages. So you're not aware that you're starting to contract the disease. So it's vitally important for women to really go regularly, at least annually, for a checkup. So they need to have a pap smear, which is a scraping of the proximal end of the uterus. It's not painful, and they take the cells and they have a look at them microscopically for any abnormalities. And it's not an unpleasant experience, but it's vital, because if you pick up cervical cancer early, like all cancers, it's treatable. Yeah. It's when it gets to the advanced stages that it's not treatable. And we spoke about people knowing about the vaccine. I think it's just as vitally important that females go for their regular checkups, not just for cervical cancer, but for breast cancer and other forms of cancer.
Yeah. That's what I want to touch on a little bit. I mean, I was devastated, and I'm sure a lot of other people that heard. I mean, our former colleague here at the SABC, Tolani Gwala, young guy who has the most wonderful future ahead of him, and I still believe that it will be a great future ahead of him, being diagnosed with colon cancer. Yes. He had no idea that he had it. He was just feeling the flu. And this, of course, has subsequently spread to other organs. I think one other organ, it may have gone to his liver, it's devastating. But, you know, he's brave enough to come forward and talk about it. What do we need to do to try and prevent this from happening? We try and lead healthy lifestyles. Is that the best thing? Try and avoid stress. Go for regular checkups. Give us some advice here.
Well, I think that going for regular checkups is the key. I mean, if you go for a simple examination, especially once you get over the age of 50, to go for colonoscopies and gastroscopies, because if you pick it up early, The cause of colon cancer is something that's called a polyp that grows in and there are different types of polyps, and some of them turn to cancer more vigorously than others. And if you go for your colonoscopy and your gastroenterologist sees a polyp, he removes it. And that's what, so the polyp turns into cancer ultimately. Yeah. So if you go annually, or every 5 years for a colonoscopy, they would pick it up. And if they pick up a polyp, then you'll go every 2 years, and then, you know, so it's about going to the doctor, seeing your doctor regularly, and going to and having medical checkups.
Yeah, eating well, exercising,
absolutely,
sleeping.
Yes.
I was watching an interview the other day, and it was quite interesting, where sleeping has almost become a taboo thing to do. You know, if you sleep a good 8-9 hours, people think you're lazy. Meantime, that is something that is so
vital.
Important for your
Very.
life.
Very.
Yeah. Graham, thank you for talking to us. It's such an important conversation that needs to be held all the time. Please go on to the website www.cansa, that's cansa.org.za. Get all the information about the respective cancers that you can get, how to look after yourself, and some tips if you are struggling from it. So Graham Anderson is the CEO and Principal Officer of Profmed. Thanks again.
It's a great pleasure.
Let's take a break. We are going to have your news at 7 after this. Stay tuned.